Hey, good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Hope everybody's doing well. Nice and warm and cozy at home. It's not going out in the rain. It's raining here. All right, so while we're waiting for folks to finish coming in, if you would go to Canvas and look at what is water pollution. This is the last unit that we have in this man's impact on land and water. We are testing this unit next week. So we're going to wrap up water today. And then third period. Third period test is next Thursday. The human impact on, sorry, yours is air and water, not land. Air and water. Air and water. All right, most of you finished the gizmo. I have to add the scores from the website to your worksheet, so I'll have that done by Friday or over the weekend anyway. But that'll be done before for next week. If you haven't completed the gizmo, please do so. We're doing water today. All right, good number of people are in. So again, take the next 5 minutes to read this page over in Canvas. Also have a piece of paper handy. I'm going to show a video and I'm going to pause it for you to take notes because I cannot save this in the uh, video list. We can watch it, but we can't save it. So I'm going to pause it so you can take notes. There's some major points on there that I want you to be aware of. There's some vocabulary words that we're going to talk about. One that I don't see in this paragraph is potable. Potable means we can drink it, it's drinkable. And then these two words here, point and non-point solution, pollution, sorry, point and non-point pollution. So those are important words, and they'll talk about those in the video today. Let's see if this one works. All right, this is another one of those things that don't work properly. I have several of these. All right, this one doesn't work either. As you can. But be aware that these are the vocabulary words that even though this doesn't work, these are the vocabulary words that we need to be aware of. This is the word I was referring to, potable. So you need to know all of these terms here. Even though these questions won't pop up, those are the vocabulary words that you need to be aware of. All right, so I'll give you about 5 minutes to look that over. All right, so you all keep reading. I'm going to stop sharing, do attendance, and then we'll get started. I remember have a piece of paper handy so that you can write down the answers, the questions and the answers to the questions. All right, good morning, good morning. If you just came in, we are in Canvas looking at the unit on water pollution. Alrighty. Camila, weren't you in before? And you got kicked. You're not just coming, right? I'm trying to keep up with who's in and who gets kicked out and gotta get back in. All right. All right, so again, have a piece of paper handy. I'll pause it at certain places and you will jot down the question and the answer. So be listening so that you can answer the question.
Water is safe to drink, but have you ever wondered what makes but I could really go for a cool drink of water. We know that potable fresh water is safe to drink, but have you ever wondered what makes water safe or unsafe? How do we tell if something is potable? Take a look at these
All
water
right, I'm going to pause it for a minute.
resources.
Uh,
Some of these may look okay, but what if I told you they were all
I'm it sometimes AI doesn't translate the way it should because I'm seeing in the closed caption that it's saying portable. It's not portable. She's saying it right, potable, but it's Potable. Okay, that's the vocabulary word I showed you earlier. So every time you see it down here in the closed captions, know that it's potable, not portable. Okay,
unsafe to drink? Why do you think that might
I'm,
be? Each
I'm going to start it over.
Take a look at these water resources. Some of these may look okay, but what if I told you they were all unsafe to drink? Why do you think that might be? Each of these water resources contains a type of pollution. Today, we'll learn about different types of water pollution, how pollution moves through a watershed, and the ways that water pollution harms people and the environment. In order to tackle the problem of water pollution, we first have to understand the problem. Are you ready, scientists? Let's get to work.
All right, I'll pause it there. That should be.
Water pollution is any
Hold
contamination
up.
of water.
That's going to be the title of your notes, types of water pollution. Oops, this little marker's in my
Water
way.
pollution, we first have to understand the problem. Are you ready, scientists? Let's get to work. Water pollution is any contamination of water sources by harmful substances. But what exactly are these
All right, so
harmful
write that down. Even though it's in Canvas, write it down. And this understanding this definition is why you'll not suspect that certain situations are water pollution. So as long as it's harmful to the water supply, then it's considered water pollution. All right, and she's going to talk about 4 different types, and I'll pause it for each type.
Substances. Scientists think back on what we've learned throughout this course. What types of substances might cause water pollution? Pause the video here to record your thoughts.
Don't worry about that.
You might have thought about plastic or trash, oil spills, sewage and waste, or invisible chemicals in water. There are many types of pollutants, but we can group them into 4 categories. The first is wastewater. When human or animal waste enters freshwater, it can cause serious harm.
Oops.
Most developed countries have
This
wastewater
little
treatment
thing is
plants
in the
to
way.
keep human waste. There are many types of pollutants, but we can group them into 4 categories. The first is wastewater.
Okay.
When human or animal waste enters
I'm trying to
freshwater,
get it
it
to
can cause
stop,
serious
but
harm.
the little marker is in the
I
way.
could really go for a cool drink of water. We know that potable fresh water. Most developed countries have waste.
Okay. Right there. All right, so write that down. First one, category 1, wastewater. And write when humans or animal waste enters fresh water. So again, we're talking about 4 different types of water pollution. First one is wastewater. And see, the problem I'm having is it's not showing on your side, but on my side, this little marker is in the way of the pause button.
When human or animal waste enters freshwater, it can cause serious harm. Most developed countries have wastewater treatment plants to keep human waste out of watersheds, but developing nations might not. And livestock waste isn't flushed down a drain, so it can be hard to manage. Next is solid pollution, or solid items like plastic, landfill trash, or sediment from erosion.
All right, so that's the second one. So write that down. Solid pollution. When solid items like plastics, landfill trash, or sediment from erosion enter the water.
In the water. This type of pollution is usually visible. But not all pollution is in solid pieces. The next type, chemical pollution,
All right,
is when
third type, chemical pollution. Write it down. I have you writing it down because you know it's going to be on the test next week, right? When dangerous chemicals enter the water. So again, chemicals that you can't see. So you can see the solid waste. You can see the waste, the human waste or animal waste, but you don't see chemicals. The water might look perfectly fine, and you don't know that there are dangerous chemicals in there because you can't see them. It has to be, usually they have to be, you know, they're there because it's been tested or something is dying in the water, and that is evident that there are chemicals in the water.
dangerous chemicals enter the water. This includes acid mine drainage, heavy metals, oil spills, or pesticides and fertilizers. Some chemical pollutants are visible, but others can't be seen with the naked eye. The last type is thermal pollution or
All right,
temperature pollution.
fourth one, thermal pollution. When something causes a big change in the normal water temperature. And she's going to ask you a question about this afterwards, so be ready for it.
This happens when something causes a big change in normal water temperature, like when industrial factories use water to cool machinery and then discharge warm water back into the water source. It can also happen when hydroelectric dams bring cold water from the bottom of reservoirs to the surface too quickly. Remember, water pollution is any harmful substance that contaminates water. How do you think
All
temperature
right, that's
changes
the
might be
question.
harmful
Write the
to freshwater?
question and write an answer. I'm going to ask it later. How do you think temperature changes? Why is temperature a pollutant? Is basically what she's asking. How a temperature changes might be harmful to freshwater ecosystem. What will the change in temperature do to the water that will cause pollution? Is another way of asking that question. Then write an answer. You'll need it later. And a clue, think about the fact that there are living things in the water. What do temperature changes do to living things in the water? So we're looking at an aquatic ecosystem. Thank you, Alicia. That's a good answer. That's one. All right, so hopefully you wrote the question. If you haven't finished answering it yet, just make sure that you got the question. Thank you, Chase. And that's true. All right, so most of you know that the fish can't handle when you heat up the water. They like a certain temperature. And they will start dying. Okay, I got another one that they'll start dying. So that's when you see the fish floating on top of the water like that. The other thing that happens is you see all of a sudden the water gets real green. Anybody know what that's called? When the water gets real green, get this film of green algae on top of the water. See, the fish don't like warm, but the plant algae does. So we get something called an algal bloom, where there's an abundance of algae growing on top of the water. That's real good for the algae, but they block the sunlight and the oxygen for the fish and everybody else underneath. So that's not good for them. So those are two reasons. All right, again, keep your ears open. It's got
Water
more
ecosystems.
questions.
Pause the video here to
And we
record your
did
thoughts.
that already.
Any change in temperature can be dangerous for the species in that ecosystem that have adapted to different conditions. Warmer water temperatures can encourage the growth of harmful algae and reduce oxygen levels in the water. To put it simply, changing the temperature in water can throw off the delicate balance of aquatic ecosystems. Wastewater, solid waste, chemicals, and temperature changes can all pollute water. Some of these sources are point pollution, pollution coming from a single identifiable source,
All right, so
like a single pipe.
this is in Canvas, but do write it down. So this is, you do have to know the two different types of pollution. Point source pollution, where you know where it's coming from. Basically, you can point your finger at it and say, this is where that pollution is coming from.
Leaking wastewater, or a single boat spilling oil. But pollution can also be considered non-point source pollution, which is pollution coming from a broad area, like
All right, I'm
farm
gonna pause
runoff
it there
or
again. Write that down. Non-point source pollution. So you're not really sure where it's coming from. It's in the water, but can be several places that it could be coming from. Where everybody's polluting, you don't know which one.
city stormwater. Non-point source pollution can be challenging to manage because it's difficult to tell exactly where the pollutants are coming from, especially if the pollution is stemming from groundwater. No matter where pollution comes from, though, it rarely stays in one place. Watersheds are complex, interconnected systems. Water pollution in one area can cause a ripple effect, flowing to new areas or stressing water resources far away. One of the best known examples of this is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a massive area in the ocean filled with microplastics and debris from all over the world. It's not a floating island of trash, but a huge zone of accumulated microscopic plastic particles that harm marine life. But it's in the middle of the ocean. How do you think all of this plastic got here? Pause the video here to record your predictions.
And I think you know that it probably floated.
This garbage entered the ocean from watersheds around the world. Watersheds are like nature's highways for water, and pollution travels downstream along those highways too. When pollutants enter a waterway, they don't just stay in one place. Pollution from one stream can float through a watershed, eventually reaching rivers, lakes, or even the ocean. This can also happen with eutrophication. Agricultural pollution, like fertilizers and wastewater, can also move downstream, creating dead zones in lakes and oceans where oxygen levels drop so low that fish and other aquatic life can't survive. Even if pollution doesn't flow upstream, it can still have upstream effects. Why? Because we still need water. If one part of the watershed is polluted, people often overuse cleaner upstream water sources. That puts extra pressure on healthy rivers and streams. And when surface water is too polluted to use, we turn to groundwater. But groundwater takes a long time to refill. If we overuse it, aquifers can become depleted and stressed. Pollution doesn't respect boundaries. It's like throwing confetti and glitter at a party. It ends up all over the place, and once it's spread out, it's really difficult to clean every bit up. A single polluted stream can impact an entire watershed, and all the people and ecosystems that depend on it. When pollution flows through a watershed, it has real costs for people, businesses, and communities. Let's start with the economic costs. Take a look at this large oil spill. What kinds of economic costs might result from this pollution? Pause the video here to record your thoughts. This oil is a valuable resource, and once it's spilled into the water, it can't be used, costing money to replace it. But it's also polluting the water, and that shuts down industries that depend on clean water, like tourism and fishing, agriculture that depends on water for crops, or factories that need water to cool machines. This oil spill is also expensive to clean up, and it can take a lot of time, costing money and resources that could go to other projects. But the harms of pollution aren't limited to economics. There are big environmental costs to ecosystems. How do you think this oil spill might impact the ecosystems in this watershed? Polluted water can kill fish, birds, amphibians, and other aquatic life. It can cause long-term biodiversity loss, making ecosystems weaker and less able to bounce back from change. There are also social costs. Water pollution, like an oil spill, makes drinking water unsafe, especially in communities that already struggle to access clean water. Some pollutants, like mercury and microplastics, even build up in fish and seafood and enter the food chain when we eat that seafood. And water holds cultural importance for many people, from fishing traditions to ceremonies and community gatherings. When water is polluted, those traditions can be threatened. That's why it's so important that we try to prevent pollution in the first place, and that we develop solutions for filtering and treating water to remove pollutants. We'll explore more of these solutions later in this unit. As we went through the lesson today, we learned about the different types of water pollution and the human activities that can cause harm to water resources. Watersheds are interconnected, flowing systems. Pollution doesn't only impact one area. It's like glitter at a party. It ends up all over the place, and it's really difficult to clean every bit up. We'll dive deeper into these impacts in the next few lessons and start looking at how we can prevent pollution and protect our water systems. Until next time, remember, every drop of water is a part of a bigger system. By understanding how water pollution happens and the damage it causes, we can develop sustainable solutions to tackle this problem. Keep learning and asking questions, and I'll see you.
All right. We'll see you next time. All right. So we are back in Canvas. Here we go. All right. Somebody asked me what is it called in Canvas? What is water pollution? All right. So I want you to finish reading this. In particular, she talked about point and non-point pollution. So make sure you understand all of those. Look at the recap that she just did. And this one is, like I said, it's not working, but the pictures go with it. Read that one. This one you can watch on your own. And this is one where it also is not working, but where'd it go? There. All right. So know these vocabulary words. So it's not going to, you can't choose the right answers. I'm just going to click through and see what happens. Let's see, which one haven't we used? Potable. Of course it's wrong. I don't know what the questions are. All right. But anyway, those are the vocabulary words. And then make sure you read that over as well. All right, Corinne just got kicked out and you're back. All righty. So read that over. Also take a look at the effects of things that is really, really big about water pollution is it spreads disease. People drink the water anyway because you need water, and sometimes there are waterborne organisms that are in the water and they are going to cause havoc with your intestinal system. Okay. You need to know that the World Health Organization is also abbreviated WHO. They are responsible for monitoring It's different types of diseases in different places in the world where the drinking water is not potable. That's that word I want you to know, potable. It means good to drink. All water is not potable. All right, you also need to know about the CDC, which Center for Disease Control, which is housed here in Atlanta, what they do, what their responsibility is. And somewhere along the way, the we need to talk about the Clean Water Act. All right, so go ahead and read these two sections. I'll be right back to check on you. Right back. All right, so last unit we had the Clean Air Act and we had the Montreal Protocol. This one I'm not gonna put this in as an assignment, and I'm gonna put it in the chat. All right, so what is the Clean Water Act? Just somebody look it up, and then when you put it in the chat, put it for everyone, not just for me. Somebody look up what is the Clean Water Act? When was it? When we say when, 'cause some of you didn't do this last time. What is it? When was it enacted? Some of these acts are older than you. They need to be modified. But when was it put in place? Why was it put in place? And that's a better question. Why was it put in place? Why do we have to have all these acts anyway? We put that as another question. Okay, Sarai is on it. It was enacted in 1972 by the federal government, governing water pollution, aiming to restore and maintain chemical and physical, biological integrity of the nation's water. It regulates pollution discharges, and that part is important. Their job is to regulate people, us. Remember, our unit is human impact on the water supply. If there are no regulations, people will just go to the water and dump it. Right now, one of the reasons she showed you that little floating debris of water in the middle of the ocean, that's because people just go out past what we call international territory, where there are boundaries of certain waters exist so many miles from shore. Out in the middle is anybody's territory. And boats will go out that far and dump because they'll get fined if they dump it in close to the land, but they might not get caught if they dump it further out. So there's people watching to make sure that we don't destroy the water supply. Because even going further out, the water moves. Water is not like the land. Water moves, it flows. So you might dump it there, but can circle all the way around. Dump it in the Atlantic, it'll circle around and end up in the Pacific. So water pollution is different. One of the other things they talked about was that water pollution can come from the land. And these things that we do, like when we've had these heavy rainfalls, whatever is on the land, the dirt, the oil from your driveway, um, the pesticides, the chemical that they sprayed the grass with to make everybody's got that chemical that it makes the grass look pretty, but then it rains and it goes in the drain and it's not all going through the soil to help the grass. Some of it gets into the drain goes into the sewer ends up at the water supply, and not everything that goes to the water treatment plant is filtered out. They get out most of it, and then they have what we call an acceptable level. That's not good, okay? Which is why everybody's drinking bottled water these days, because they don't believe that the water treatment plant is cleaning it as well as they could, because they have an acceptable level. Okay, certain organisms, um, they can't get out of the water. So those parasites and things that when you go to foreign countries, you're not used to the parasite that they're used to. So it may not bother them, but it'll give you diarrhea. Okay. So there's acceptable levels. All right. Another thing, we might think that water doesn't run out. I'm trying to do that on the wrong screen. That water doesn't run out, but it's not that the water doesn't run out in that, because we are known as the hydro planet. Most of our planet is water, but most of our water is not potable. It is not drinkable. Okay, so this is the issue we have. The issue we have now with climate change is a lot of areas where we had lakes and freshwater lakes and streams, they're drying up. So we're not able to use them like we used to. Ocean water has salt in it. So while there's a lot of ocean out there, salt water is not potable. Okay. And sweetheart, I love your answers, but send them to everybody. I went last year, I was going again this year. All right, so Rice said that in El Salvador, she went last year. Um, told us not to eat or eat the street food because our bodies aren't used to what they have. And that's sad because you want to eat the native foods, but what they cook with and the water that they use is going to make you sick. The food is probably delicious, but the water that they use and clean up with is going to make you sick. So it definitely will give you diarrhea. Thank you for sharing. Okay. All righty. So I'm going to let you finish reading. Um, finish up the gizmo if you haven't finished it. So that your test is next week, which means that Monday and Wednesday we review. So, and we'll be reviewing everything in this unit on human impact of air and water resources. So go back and look at all the things that we talked about for air pollution. Look, most important are your layers of the atmosphere, the type of things that pollute the atmosphere. Be familiar with your air quality index. And again, water pollution and what pollutes. The four things I asked you to write down as far as water pollution is concerned. Okay. Wastewater, solid pollution, chemical pollution, and thermal pollution. Okay. All right. So again, be prepared to go over all of this on Monday. All right, so finish reading, finish your gizmo, and any other assignment that you might need me to open. I opened some yesterday and people took advantage and that was good. We want to make sure all these zeros disappear because 9 weeks means that 9-week report cards go out. So we want to make sure all your grades are in good standing before the 9-week report card goes out. Yeah, I'd be sure to read now. Family, family, family. Mhm. Okay, folks, if you're in a good place to stop, you can go ahead and do that and log off, and I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. I know it's Thursday, but I won't see you tomorrow, so have a great weekend. Don't forget tutorials tomorrow at 1:35 if you need to pop in. Just pop in.